Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second day of MtMoot. Thank you all for joining me. I've really been enjoying myself. We had a great time last night at the social event. I see we've got a bunch of people still coming in, so we'll let that happen. But yeah, we played some online games last night. We hung out, gave away some Moot coins, had a great time. It's going to be even better tonight, so make sure that you put that on your schedule to join us for online games and fun and Moot coins and prizes and things. So make sure you've got that on your schedule. This session is about MoodleGradebook. And so I'm going to try to, in the session, give you an idea of not only how to use MoodleGradebook, but sort of an idea of why it is set up the way that it's set up. So first of all, I just want to go ahead and check in the chat. Everybody kind of give me an idea, let me know who you are, where you're from, what your interests are. So maybe something interesting about yourself. So everybody just throw something in the chat. So I see that we're all here. I'll put something in the chat too. And I'll give you a sort of an idea of who I am. My name is RyanHazen. I am an instructional design consultant and online. Oh, good morning, Jessica from Nebraska. So I started out as an 8th grade teacher in East Helena, Montana. Oh, wow, we got a bunch of people from Alan from NC State. Good to see you again. Sylvia from Germany. Great. Glad you joined us. And Allison at the Teacher Learning Hub. I always love teachers, especially here locally. So anyway, I started out as an 8th grade teacher in East Helena, Montana, taught there for about 4 years, English language arts. And after that, I was a Moodle administrator and instructional technologist at Carroll College. I still administer the Moodle for Carroll as a consultant, but full-time I work at My Learning Consultants now, helping folks with all kinds of applications of Moodle, from K-12 to higher ed, nonprofit, corporate, you name it. We've got them in our portfolio. Great. So I see everybody's in here. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the. Oh, and I want to just give a special welcome to all the Forest Service folks. It's good to see you guys. We're having quite a fire season here in Montana, so we really appreciate the work that you do. Christopher, welcome. Yeah, East Helena and Carroll, great. Man after my own heart. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, see if I can share my screen here with you. And there we go. So the whole point here today is that MoodleGradebook is not as scary as it seems. Now, I've done a lot of work with a lot of faculty from all different walks of life on MoodleGradebook, and I have yet to find a grading strategy that's not able to be accommodated by Gradebook. But I've also not found a single professor or teacher or facilitator who has looked at MoodleGradebook and understood it right away. That just doesn't happen. MoodleGradebook is a complex and powerful grading system, and more importantly, a reporting system. So I'm going to get on my high horse, okay? I want to acknowledge that I'm getting on my high horse here. I want to talk a little bit about Gradebook sort of from a 10,000 foot perspective, and then we'll dive in and actually make it work. So the essential thing that you need to understand about Moodle Gradebook is that Moodle Gradebook is student-centered, okay? The student is why Moodle Gradebook is designed the way it is, and why Moodle in general is designed the way it is. And so when we grade, I have my own particular orientation to grading, right? Somebody else might come from a different angle, and all the different teachers that a student has at one time all have their own orientations to grading. And having worked with dozens of faculty and set up hundreds probably of grade books, it's never been clearer to me that there is no one standard way to grade. So what we need to do is we need to think about maintaining our orientation to grading, because that's good, and that diversity, you know, it's informed by our disciplines, it's informed by our experiences, and we want to preserve that freedom for all teachers to grade the way that they think students should be graded. However, you have to remember that the point of Gradebook is to take all of those different reports and provide them to different students at different times, right? So Gradebook has to be dynamically generating grades from all these different teachers, right? So each teacher needs to set up their gradebook so that it can feed these reports. Now, there are some common questions that I have, that I hear, and that I ask myself, especially when I first started using Gradebook. Students should be able to calculate their own grades, right? That's something that I hear a lot, and it's fair, yeah, especially in higher education or in high school. Yeah, students ought to be able to calculate their own grades. Why do I have to spoon feed them? Why do I have to set up this gradebook? Shouldn't they be able to look in the syllabus, right? Why can't Gradebook do this? It's all in my syllabus. I hear this a lot. Students should be able to calculate their own grade because it's all in my syllabus. Yeah, maybe so, sure. And finally, why is this so complicated? Well, the answer is, again, that Moodle Gradebook is student-centered, and it's trying to take all of these different orientations to grading and provide a place, single place where a student can see all their grades. Now, keep this in mind, especially with it's all in my syllabus and shouldn't students be able to calculate their own grades? Students have multiple teachers all at one time, and all of those teachers have unique orientations to grading. And so asking a student to like use a syllabus and keep track of their own grades to figure out what their grade is in the course is not just one course. It's 4, 5, 6 courses that all have different grading methods. And it's really hard. It's a big cognitive ask to have students calculating grades from a bunch of different courses that are made a bunch of different ways. So the idea with Moodle is that we want to preserve these orientations, but have a single simple way for that student to review their grades in all their different courses. So again, Moodle Gradebook is student-centered. And so that's me off my high horse. I just wanted to say that this is built to create reports for students, not necessarily to facilitate the easiest way that a teacher might create grades. So that's me off my high horse. I wanna move on from there and show you how to set up a gradebook. So let's go to our sandboxes. So I want you to have this window open, but I want you to go to your sandbox in Moodle. So we've given everybody a sandbox. It should be called first name, last name, Sandbox 2021. You should find it under My Sessions on the front page of the course. So again, when we go to Moodle, we go to the front page. Here, let me turn editing off so it looks a little bit more normal. Scroll down to the My Sessions area at the bottom and find a sandbox with your name on it. Do let me know in the chat if you don't have one. I can make one for you really quickly. But in order to participate in this fully, we want to use these sandboxes. So absent anybody so far in the chat saying that they don't have a sandbox, I'm just going to go ahead and sort of jump in here. So when you're in your course as a teacher, you should see the grades button over here. It looks like a little book icon. There are other icons. It might look different in whatever your home Moodle is. But in this theme, it's this little book icon. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the gradebook. And I'm going to make myself a little bit more room here just by collapsing that. And I'm going to collapse this side here so we can see it nice and clean. So the first thing that we want to do is you'll see we don't actually, we should put some users in here. Sorry, I'm going to change track on you here. Go to participants in your course. It's again in that sidebar. And then let's enroll some students. So in order to do that, click enroll users. And then we have a lot of false accounts in here and their last name is all students. So just type student in and then choose, let's say at least 3 of these people. So I'm gonna do Aaron, Alan, and Elisa. So I've enrolled those students, so make sure you get yourself some students because we'll want to actually give them grades to see how the gradebook calculates and how it works. So now that we have some students, let's go to the grades area. And we should see we've got Aaron, Alan, and Elisa here in the course. So far we don't have any grades in our course. Let's get started with that. In order to add a grade, we go to the Setup tab up here at the top. And then we add a grade item. So what we're doing right now, the grade item, is just a number that goes into the gradebook. One of the really powerful things about Moodle is that you can create activities which grade themselves and send grades to the gradebook. This grade item that we're about to add, I like to call it a dumb grade item, not because it's dumb to use, but because it's not smart in that it's like updating from students' activity in the course. We'll set up one of those later, but for right now, this is just a grade item. Let's say that you did something physically in class and you wanted to just put a grade in, the grade item is what you'd use. So I'm going to add a grade item. Let's call this homework 1. And then scroll down and just click Save Changes. So here we are. We have homework 1. One thing I want you to notice is that the grade total here is 100. And the weight at this time is also 100. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another grade item. And it's going to be worth 100 points. I want for you to predict in the chat what this weights number will turn into if we add another 100-point assignment. That was quick, Teresa. Nice. Okay. All right. Great. So I'm going to add another grade item. Let's call it homework 2. We're going to leave this maximum grade here at 100 and click Save Changes. Looks like everybody was right. Great. So one of the things to know, this weights column can throw people off. One of the things to know is that these dynamically update based on the percentage of the total grade. So if I add homework 3 and it's worth 100 points, throw a prediction in there. What's going to happen to that? What do you think it'll be? What is our weight going to be? Teresa is the fastest keyboard in the West. I like it. Oh, Alan, very precise. Good, 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 good. And so, yeah, that's actually correct, Alan. 3.3 repeating, right? So we're seeing now that these grades their weights are gonna update, right, as we add more grade items. Now, let's imagine that I want homework 1 to be worth 50% of the total grade. So in order to do that, I'm going to check this checkbox. I'm going to put a 50 in here. What's going to happen to homework 2 and homework 3 when I click Save Changes? What will the weights for homework 2 and homework 3 be if I save changes? There we go, right, 25 each, right? Because I've given this weight to this one, and it redistributes the remaining weight against the rest of those. So Moodle Gradebook allows you to flexibly have percentage grading and what's called simple weighted grading, which means that each assignment is worth the percentage of the total grade that its point total represents, okay? So I'm gonna uncheck this and save changes because I don't wanna go too crazy yet. All right, so now we've got homework 1, homework 2, and homework 3. So let's add a category. Now a category is a group of grades. So I'm gonna click add category. And I'm gonna call this category homework. And I'll click save changes. I invite you to join me in your sandbox course as we go through this, just so that you get the feel for it, in a safe space where you're not messing up students' grades if you do something crazy. Now, I've got this homework category here, and it's a folder, so I can put grades in it. I want to put these 3 homeworks in there. There's a few different ways to do that. The easiest way to do it from here is to select all 3 of these, and then move selected items to homework. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Great. Now we have a folder or a category, homework, that's got 3 homeworks in it, all of which are worth 33% of the 100% of the grade that is available right now. So I'm going to add another category. I'm going to call this exams. And I'm going to run through and add exam 1 and exam 2. I'd invite you to do the same. So as I add a grade item, now that I know where it's going, I've got exam 1, I could select the parent category here. So I want this to go straight into exams. So I'm going to go ahead and select the grade category. And then when I click save changes, we have exams. Now, notice what's happening here. These 3 homeworks are worth 33% each of the 75% of the course that homework is worth. Exams, because they're a total of 100 points, are worth 25 by default. This category total here is 300, which is 3/4 of the total 400. So homework is currently weighted to 75% of the course total, just based on the points. So if you do nothing at all and you just put grades in the Moodle Gradebook with this, it's called natural aggregation, it is automatically going to figure out how much everything is worth based on its percentage of the total of whatever category it's in. So I'm going to add exam 2, and I want to stop here and have questions in the chat, or you can pipe up and unmute yourself. And I just want to make sure that I don't, because I get going and sometimes I'll leave people behind, and I don't want to do that. So go ahead and throw a question in the chat if you have one. And again, I'm putting exam 2 here in the exams category. Notice now that homework is worth 60%. How do you move the homework again? Great. So if you want to move, let's say that we wanted to move this homework 1 right here into exams for some reason. You could check the checkbox off to the right of it. And then down at the bottom, move selected items to. I'm going to move it to exams real quick. And then you'll see that homework 1 showed up in exams. I'm going to move it back by checking the box. And I'm going to move it back to homework. So there we go. Now, let's imagine that I want to change the value of the exams category. Let's say I want exams to be worth 75% of the grade, even though there's only 200 points in there. Well, in order to do that, I'd check the exams weight box, give that a 75, click Save Changes. So now exams are worth 75% of the grade and homework is worth 25% of the grade, even though the point totals are different. So it allows you to both do weighted, percentage weighted if you want to, and like I said earlier, the simple weighted method. So let's see what this does for, I'm going to uncheck this. I'm going to click Save Changes. So right now we have homework worth 60% and exams worth 40% just based on the point totals. Let's put some grades in and see what happens with our students. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back up to the top of the page here. I'm going to go to View. And now we've got this view here. So we've got homework 1, 2, and 3. And then notice the sigma right here indicates that this column is a total. It also says total there at the end. So this is a grade that's being calculated by combining homework 1, 2, and 3. And the same case here with exams. We've got exam 1 and 2. This category has a total here. And then the course will have an overall total over here. So I am going to put some grades in. This isn't necessarily the best way to really do grading, but it's expedient right now. So what I'm going to do is turn editing on. And then you'll see I can start entering grades. So I'm going to have Aaron, Aaron, he's really good with his homework. But Aaron does not do so good on his exams. We're going to give Alan here the opposite problem. He's not going to do very good on his homeworks, but he's going to do very well on his exams. And then finally, I'm just going to put some random grades in here for Elisa, just so things get weird. Again, jump in and ask questions. Do this in your sandbox courses so that you have some practice with it. So I've put in these grades. Notice that I've left the totals blank because I want these to calculate. I don't want to override these totals. I want them to calculate. So I'm leaving the totals blank so that when I click Save Changes, it's going to calculate these grades for me. So I'm going to turn editing off. And we'll see that Aaron has got all 300 here, but only 100 for exams. And so his course total is 400. So this doesn't make a whole lot of sense right out of the gate. It's just showing us the points. Most of us probably want to see the student grades as a percentage. So in order to do that, we're going to go back into gradebook setup. So this is where we were before, adding these grades. But this time we're going to go to course grade settings. And we're going to change the grade display type. So let's say that I want to see both the real and then the percentage in parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'll click Save Changes. And then it'll show us, now it's displaying for us, the teacher, in this view, the point total as well as the percentage. So we see that, Aaron's got an 80%, Alan's got a 70%, and Elisa's got an 80. All right, got lost with the last topic. Okay, let's start from the gradebook. So I'm going to go actually to the front of the course. So if I'm in my course, I click grades. It'll bring me to this gradebook. And then in order to change the way these grades are displayed, like I want to show the percentage as well as the real, I go to Setup and Course Grade Settings. And then you can change the grade display type under this grade item settings area. Also notice decimal places. A lot of people like decimal places. I don't, so I'm actually going to turn off the decimal places. So it's not 100.00. It's just going to show at 100. Great. So I'm going to do the decimal place change. And you'll see now it looks a little bit simpler because we don't need those decimals. I really grade on the whole numbers personally. So I kind of like this. I think it's a little cleaner without the decimals. We were using the Move theme, Justin, that's MOOVE. This is the freemium version of it. You can buy a license for a lifetime, I think for like $150 or something, but it's not required. You can download it. And okay, Aaron, followed you twice and not getting the percentage. So make sure that you go to Setup, Course Grade Settings, and then the grade display type you can choose here. So let's say that I only want to see the percentage. I might choose percentage, and that's going to have the effect of just showing the percentage and not the real grade in the grade book. Oh, make sure you turn editing off. That's probably what it is, Aaron. So I've got editing on, and so I turn it off here, and it'll give me the actual percentage. So that can be confusing because every time you have editing on, it's going to show us the real grade points instead of the percentage. All right, Michael, you've got your hand up. Why don't you speak up?
Yeah, on the display part, even though it displays, it doesn't. You're not displaying any decimal points. It's actually being calculated with, numerous decimal places.
That's correct. And I think it's going out to, if I remember correctly, it's 6 decimal places is what Moodle actually uses. It's like, it's a bunch more than you really display.
Okay, yeah.
And then it's rounding after that. So in this case, an 89.6 is going to show as a 90.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no problem, Aaron. It's a lot. That's the thing I'm trying to say about Gradebook is it's like really complicated. So do stop me and slow me down because I don't want to leave you guys behind. So let's talk about what the student sees. So anytime you want to see what a student sees, because they don't see this gradebook the way that we look at it. So anytime a student comes to you and says, oh, my grade is this or whatever, Stephen, really quickly, I'm going to do a sidebar for Stephen. How do you find students? So go to participants and then enroll users. And just search for anybody with the last name student as a false account that you can just mess around with. So here's a manual. And I'll enroll. And so that way you have students to play with. So when I go back to the gradebook now, we're going to see a manual is listed there as well. He doesn't have any grades though. So let's look at what a student sees. So in order to do that, we click User Report. And then you select your user. Let's say Aaron. All right. So here's what Aaron sees when Aaron logs in, right? At first glance, I think this is too much. Like, if I'm Aaron and I'm like a high school student and I come in and I look at this, it's confusing. Like the range, what's the calculated weight? Like how much is it contributing to the course total? What am I even supposed to be looking at? So the great thing about this is that Moodle gives you all these options, because it could be that, in higher ed somewhere, you want students to see all this and do some self-analysis, right? But I like to keep it simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the way the user report shows the student his grades. So if I scroll up and I go to setup again, and then course grade settings, we've been here before when we changed the display type, you'll notice that there is a user report area here. And these are the defaults. By default, it shows the percentage, it shows the grades, shows the feedback, all that stuff, right? So, but I don't want to show that stuff. So I'm going to hide the weightings. I'm going to hide the contribution to course total. I want to hide the range as well. Percentage, feedback, weightings, average, hide. Yeah, that should be, I think that should be good. Oh, yeah, I want to turn off range too. I'm going to hide ranges. Now, when I save changes and I go look at Aaron's report again, it's a lot cleaner and a lot simpler. Now, because I'm showing percentage grades, the grade is actually going to be displayed as a percentage to the student. So really, what I probably want him to see is his point total and then the percentage over here. So I'm going to head back to setup and course grade settings. And I'm going to change that grade display type back to real, because I think that's going to make more sense for my students, right? So I'm going to show Aaron here. And here we have his grade and his percentage, and that's a lot cleaner and simpler. So he sees he's got a total 400 points in the course, which represents 80% of the available course total. So any questions about the user report? Did I lose anybody on modifying the user report? Because remember, Moodle Gradebook is student-centered, and this is what Gradebook is meant to do. It's meant to provide those grades to the student in a dynamic, constantly, up-to-date way.
What about ranking? It showed ranking as a choice, but it says show rank, but I don't see it on this. Well, it's hidden, but
let me go ahead and try and add that. Show rank. Save changes, and then let's see, Aaron. So the rank shows you where you are in the course. It's actually kind of cool, especially if you're going to gamify and say like, all right, whoever gets the best grade on this thing, gets some sort of recognition. It's showing that he's first out of 4 people. He's third out of 4 people, but for the course total, he's second. So somebody is doing better than Aaron, and that might motivate. Justin, that's a great question. I don't think that's possible. I've never been presented with that question before, but I see why you'd want to do it though, to just show the rank for a specific grade item and not the entire grade book. Yeah, I'll need to look into that. But as far as I know, this is the way that it works. Okay, so I want to show another report here, because what Moodle Gradebook is doing is it's got all of these reports that are all based on the same grade. If the grades are not filled in, that's a really great question, and I should have covered that earlier. So I'm going to go to gradebook setup again to answer Deb's question. Deb asked, if all the grades are not filled in, how does the total show? Well, the answer is it depends on your course grade settings. So here I am in course grade settings, and actually, no, this is not where it is. Sorry. It's in gradebook setup. And let's say in this homework category, I'm going to edit settings. And under show more here, you can exclude empty grades or you can include empty grades. So by default, it's set to exclude empty grades, which means that any grade that has a null value, not a 0, but no grade at all, is not included in the calculation. So let me demonstrate this. So I'm going to leave exclude empty grades. And I'm going to go to, I'm just going to go real fast so everybody can sort of just watch this part. So I'm going to go to, let's say, the grader report. I'm going to turn editing on, and I'm going to remove this grade for Aaron. Okay. Save changes. So now Aaron has a null grade. So there's no grade there, which is different than a 0. So now when I go and I look at this report as Aaron, you see he's got 100% because there's only 200 points available. This null grade is excluded. So if I want to change that, I'm going to go back into setup, and I am going to edit the homework category, and I'm going to change that setting, exclude empty grades. I'm not going to exclude empty grades. Now I'm going to save changes. I want everybody to predict, is Aaron's grade going to get better or worse as a result of me changing this? So I click save changes. I check out his user report. Correct. Good job. Sylvia, Katie, Chris, Finn, excellent. So this grade is now included as a 0. So it's hurting his grade, even though, and notice it says right here, include empty grades. So that means an empty grade counts as a 0. So it's important to remember that you have the option to do that. Now, a lot of folks I found like to exclude empty grades, but then when the due date passes, they go through and put 0s in so that students get caught up. Because if you include empty grades from the beginning, every student starts with a 0. You can, if you want to do it individually for each student in each grade, Sylvia, you should put 0s in and leave the empty grades excluded. That would be my advice. That's what most people choose to do. So I'm going to change that setting back just because, I want to stay on track here. I'm just running through this real quick. I'm going to exclude empty grades again, but I also want to go and give Aaron his 100 back. So that, and Aaron has 100 again. Great. All right. So I want to just really quickly go back to, well, first, let's go to single view. So I want everybody to come along to single view. And notice in single view, we can select a grade item or a user. So like if I want to change Aaron's grades, I can select Aaron in this dropdown. Here's Aaron's student, and here's all of his grades. Notice that these gray ones are the totals. Moodle does not want us to edit those for good reason, because they should be dynamically calculated. But I want to point out also that you can, in single view, you can not only edit for one student, but you could edit for a grade item. So if I'm grading homework 1 this is the view I'm going to use because I see the students here. I can edit their grades. Let's give a manual 65. But what's even cooler is I can give them feedback. So great work. Poor showing. Mediocre with a smiley face. And study more. Okay. Now I'm going to click Save Changes. But I also want you to notice that, let's say that I want to give Emmanuel a break. Hey, Aaron didn't mess up after all. Good. Somebody got the Key and Peele reference. That's great. I love it. So if I wanted to exclude an individual grade, I can actually do that here. Let's say I want to give Emmanuel a break and say, okay, study more. I'm going to exclude this. So this gets, I think, Sylvia's question, can I exclude individually for each student and grade? You can exclude or include using this, this button right here. So I'm going to exclude Emmanuel just to be nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And I'm going to select another grade item as well. Let's say homework 2. So if you have a bunch of students and the grade time comes around, I want to point out that you have a bulk insert option here. So if you check perform bulk insert for empty grades, I'm going to insert 100 because I'm being kind to Emmanuel these days. And I click save. Grades were set for one item. So it's going to put 100 in there for him. So if you have a class of 40, 50 students, and some of them have done the assignment and others haven't, you can just say 4 empty grades, insert value 0, and click go, and it'll just fill in zeros for everybody that hasn't submitted the assignment. Kind of a time saver. Good to know. Let me give Aaron some feedback here. And click save. So this feedback is really important to me as a pedagogist. I think grades are good for the institution and feedback is good for the student. Now, our poor students are conditioned and like Pavlovian level conditioned to respond to points, to numbers. But as an educator, I don't really believe that numbers help them grow. I believe that subjective feedback helps them grow. So anytime that you can put subjective feedback next to a number, you're doing your students a favor because they are going to go look for the number grades. But what they really need is subjective feedback. So if I wanted to say, Beth, the drop down for the bulk insert. Sure. So I'm going to perform a bulk insert. And for this time, I'm going to select all grades. And I'm going to give everybody 100 because I'm feeling generous. Notice you could select empty grades or all grades. I'm going to do all grades this time and click save. And now everybody's got 100, right? Yep. So anyway, back on my soapbox about subjective feedback. I now want to go to user report and I want to look at Aaron again. And you'll notice that my subjective feedback is showing up in the feedback column next to the grades. So when students come to look at your gradebook in Moodle, they are emotionally vulnerable to feedback. They're in a place, they're seeking their own grades. So they're in a headspace that means that they're ready to hear, that they're thinking about what their grades are. So if when they are in that state, and that could be 2 in the morning, as far as we know, the gradebook is going to provide that feedback to them when they're ready to hear it. So it's hard for me to overstate how important, at least I think, this feedback column is. So I just want to throw that out there. Always, if you can, include subjective feedback. Okay, we're really running out of time. So I want everybody, if you still have questions that I haven't answered, I want you to put them in the chat and I'll answer them. But first, I want to show you automatically updated grades. So I'm going to, in the front page of my sandbox here, I'm going to turn editing on. I'm going to add an activity or resource. And I'm going to actually choose the assignment module. So what the assignment module does is it lets a student either upload a paper or type into a box for their answer. So let's say this is, I'm going to call this homework 4, just so we're consistent. And I could do a whole nother session just on the assignment module. Notice we've got due dates here and a grading reminder and stuff. I want students just to do online text. So I'm going to do that. And notice I could do a word limit here. If I only want you to give me 300 words, you know, I can do that. I'm not going to go through all this other stuff, but I am going to point out under grade, I choose the grade category here. And these are the grade categories that I've already put in gradebook. And so this is going to be in the exams category. So now I'm going to save and display. And here in the assignment, I'm going to view all submissions so I can see these students haven't made submissions yet, but I want to give Aaron a grade here just to show you how it interfaces with a live activity feeding to the gradebook. So I'm going to grade Aaron, and there's nothing here because he didn't give an answer. So I'm going to give him a 65, and I'm going to give his feedback. You done messed up a run. Okay. And I'm going to save changes. Notice you can notify the students here if you want to. Again, that's just germane to the assignment module. So I gave him a grade. I would see his submission here, and then I could give him some feedback on how he did, right? Hey, you know, think about reading the passage more carefully, maybe quote this person this way, or think about this commentary on it, whatever you're going to say. And then, so when I go look back in the gradebook now, we'll see that, oh, I put it in exams. Well, we're going to have to live with that. So I'm going to look at Aaron here, and we'll see that the feedback I gave in the assignment module feeds straight into the gradebook. So if you're, in the very most simple way, if you're just having students respond to readings or something over a period of time, give them these assignments, and then you can grade them. And the assignment module is cool because there's a rubric, there's a grading guide, there's like all kinds of cool stuff you can do with it. But remember that the end goal is to provide the grade and the subjective feedback to the student in the gradebook. So that's, yeah, that's how that works. Okay, now I'm going to get to some questions. A bit confused about excluding empty grades. Under what circumstances should someone select that setting? Most of the time in the Western American way of thinking about grades, I guess not just American, it's Western, it's called Western. In the way of thinking about grades, you pretty much always want to exclude empty grades because at least for me, growing up in the public school system and, you know, going to college, I expect a total of where I am at that time. So anytime there's an empty grade, leave it out and just show me my total. Because if you don't exclude empty grades, everybody starts with a 0 and then they build up points, which can be kind of cool. But if I was in a high school math class and I gave students a homework assignment and they came back and got 100 on it, and then it just showed their grade at like 4% because all of the future assignments are empty and being counted as zeros, that wouldn't compute for the average. That would be like that. No, I should have 100 in the course because I made 100 on the only assignment. But if you're including all those empty grades, then the students start with a 0 and work their way up. My 8th grade student, if I had done that to my 8th grade students when I was teaching in East Helena, there would have been a riot, and because that's just not the way that we think of grades. So pretty much, there aren't a lot of circumstances where you would select the setting to include empty grades as zeros, but there are teachers that do it, you know, for edge case reasons. Hart, that's a good answer. Any quick tips or suggestions for exporting Moodle grades, such as district mandates? Okay, so cool thing about Gradebook is when we are here, we can actually export this Gradebook. We can include all these grade items. Let's say I want an Excel spreadsheet. I can download it, and it kicks me out an Excel spreadsheet right here. So let me, I'll share that with you guys real quick so you can see what it looks like. Share, Excel, boom. Okay, so here is, here's that export. So I just kicked it into this Excel spreadsheet. Then most grading programs will upload. You can upload a CSV or something into the grading program. So that's the simplest way. If you don't have the IT resources to plug Moodle into your student information system, or your Skyward or Pearson Power School is another one that a lot of people use. So they will all accept an import, usually a CSV or an Excel file. So you could take this out of Moodle and upload it periodically. So you could do that. Or what's more common is a district or a school will choose to plug in Moodle so that it automatically updates from the gradebook. We do that all the time at My Learning Consultants, and yeah, so you can do that. You can have it automatically updated, but that's like a district-wide or a school-wide conversation with your IT folks. So Charlotte, extra credit, thank you. So I forgot to point this out, extra credit. I know we're beyond time, so if you folks need to go, I won't be too sad. I'll be sad, but not too sad. I'll survive. So in grades, in setup, we can, let's say that I want to make this homework 4 down here extra credit. I go into edit settings for it. And then I click the extra credit button. And now, here's something wild. We've got 3 things worth 50%. Does anybody know how that works? Well, the answer is, you see this little plus here. That means that these points are being added to the numerator and not the denominator. So they get points. So there's an extra 50% here, the way this is set up. So that student could potentially get 150 points, or 150%, we should say, for this exams category. So that's how extra credit works. All right, I think that's it. We want to get and go to the keynote that's going to come up here at 9:15. If you want more information, just see me at one of the social events tonight, or send me an email or something. I'd be happy to talk about it. All right, thanks everybody, and I will see you in the keynote.